Murder style, y'all.
Insanity, insanity, whatever happened to humanity? Ooh.
Hey, what's going on, guys? TCT here. I hope y'all like the mask. Y'all know it's that time of the season, and it's Halloween, my favorite time of the year. My only regret is that I'm having a hard time talking through this mask. But y'all just bear with me because I got a few reviews to do with this on. If this is too much of a hassle, then just let me know in the comments. But I just hope y'all enjoy it. Anyway, we're going to be reviewing Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath is let me see. It's a 1963 horror film. This probably might be the oldest horror film that I'm going to review on this channel. But it's worth it. It's damn worth it. It is a horror anthology film that has been directed by Mario Bava.
This horror tale focuses on the narrator Karloff, who introduces traumatizing tales of three stories of a haunted nurse, a stalked girl, and a tale of a vampire.
An adventure into black magic that goes beyond the boundaries of the supernatural. And a man's devoted love is welcomed by a woman's deadly lust for his blood.
I was lucky to come across this film. I came across this film in a couple of recommendations of what to watch, and Black Sabbath really caught me off guard. Not just by how good it is, but just how creatively done this anthology film is, directed by Mario Bava. It's been a minute since I've watched an old film, and it put me into that nostalgic age of just suspending my disbelief. You're gonna have to do that here when it comes to watching films like this. But it all pays off when it comes to the real tone of you looking at the actors of how they go into their probability of experiencing horror in their real eyes and giving us different versions of horror when it comes to suspense, feeling like you are being watched, you feeling claustrophobic, and at the same time paranormal activity. This movie starts off by us getting three parts of this film, by it being introduced by a narrator by Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff, I'm going to have to say it, his performance was amazing. Not just him narrating the film and giving us a biograph of which chapter is all about and just giving us that synchronage of what to expect, but just giving us that introduction of a horror standpoint by sinking us in, making us feel uncomfortable before the whole film starts, especially the beginning of the whole project of us giving us an introduction standing point of what this whole film is about and making us feel uncomfortable and at the same time warning us of what we're going to experience. Especially that part when he was telling us that we need to make sure that we're not alone and giving us that whole little trope setback saying, is there someone behind you? And I have to look behind myself a lot because I got a lot of weird shit in my room to begin with. And when we're introduced to these films, again, I like how each of these three parts shows us our own indication of different stages of horror. Like, for example, you have the first one, which is about a nurse being haunted by an entity that has passed away. And not to spoil it, but it ends up haunting and tormenting her in her own little selfish needs, giving us that whole little aspect of believing in paranormal phenomena. Then we have the Stalk Girl. Now, I'm gonna have to tell you right now, that one might be my favorite one because there's two things in horror that kind of gets me. One, paranormal activity, and two, feeling stalked because I kind of can relate to these two. But the Stalk Girl was very, very relatable. When you get certain phone calls or when you feel as if you're not alone in the house and you're the only one living there, and you begin to feel as if not only that there's someone watching you, but someone that you know for a fact that shouldn't even be around to begin with. And you begin to have these certain type of elemental phases to think that maybe you're going crazy or maybe you're off some type of mental meds. And I thought that was very well done and well executed, which have to give praise to Michelle Mercer's character who played as a stalk girl. Now, some people may say that her acting was way too over the top and it was very, very tropey, but this is where the suspension of disbelief comes from. You have to understand that you are watching a film that was based in 1963. And a lot of films can relate to this, even the films that we know and love today that's based in those times. Same thing with Jacqueline Perriou from the Nurses chapter. Now, again, I think her performance was great. I think that was very well executed. But I think that Michelle Mercer really pulled me in because I can relate more to her story, which I can't really dog Jacqueline's performance because, again, I liked her performance, but I couldn't really relate to it as much because the nurse's story doesn't really compare to the Stock Girl because I can relate to that, which is what I like about this whole film is that it has different types of elemental stages for you to relate to or at the same time feel uncomfortable when you're watching this for the first time of your own horror experience. And to be fair, when I watched this the first time, I watched it by myself. So when I showed this to my fiance the second time, we both had our own little opinions and our favorites. Again, mine was the second chapter, The Stalk Girl. But hers was the last chapter, which is the tale of the vampire. And I'm beginning to understand my fiance Sabrina's expectations of horror by her having her own little set pieces of just thinking that things doesn't exist, and you begin to have that whole limelight of grabbing that into a project like this and making us believe that it exists with well done acting, well done pacing, well done execution, and above all, using all that to make it feel as if it can happen in real time. And I agree with her. I think that the last chapter, the Tale of the Vampire, was pretty good. And honestly, to be in the doll aspect, it was actually one of the best acting I've seen in this film, which is played by none other than Boris Karloff. He plays a narrator, and I guess he decided to play a role in a character in the last chapter, which I don't mind because it all pays off. Overall, this film was a great ride. It's been a while since I watched an anthology film that has mixtures of horror, and I was pulled in from start to finish. And by it being made in 1963, that is saying a lot. If you like horror, suspense, all in one package, mixtures with certain elements to make you feel a certain way when you watch this, especially by yourself, I would highly recommend you watching Black Sabbath. You won't be sorry. I'm going to have to give Black Sabbath an A. The bell is off, but ain't school out? You know what? Let me stop playing. Anyway, that's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for my upcoming reviews and videos headed your way. This is Hugo, your critic teacher. And I hope you all have a good day.